everything's going sweet. Tuesdays. Arguably worse than Wednesdays in my opinion, but not when I get to sit here and stream. That's for sure. That makes it fun and exciting to be here today. And I'm only like half sarcastic. I don't know. Maybe I'm zero sarcastic or entirely sarcastic. You never know where I'm coming from. It is such a gloomy day out there today, and it has been fall gloomy weather for the better part of like the past week, which largely I'm okay with. I don't mind fall weather, to be perfectly honest, but also it's exhausting. Hold on, I gotta manage my audio there. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Perfect. All right. Yeah, let's see. That's another benefit of this whole waiting a minute or two for people to trickle in. This gives me time to iron everything out before actually getting things going here. So that's nice. The unfortunate part is it's still awkward, and I still have no idea what to talk about during these during these short periods of time. So I don't know. We're here. We'll do some writing. We'll get going in a couple minutes here. We'll just give people some time to slide on in if they're coming. And yeah, we'll go from there. My cold is mostly gone, thank Christ. So I got that going for me, which is nice. That thing was beating my butt a while ago, and I felt like I could feel it actually this morning. I could feel that I was still on the mend a little bit. I was at the gym doing my morning run, and I could just kind of feel it. Like I was still able to keep up with the pace that I need to be at, right now for my usual progression and everything. So it didn't. It hasn't really slowed me down, but like I'm still kind of like I still feel it. I still feel tired and out of breath a little sooner. It feels just a little bit more terrible to be running and exerting myself. So I can tell that it, you're still kind of on the mend for it, and I think that's something that surprises a lot of people, especially if you're not someone who's spending a whole lot of time on fitness and everything. I think you gotta get over your cold, and once the sinuses stop being stuffy, you feel better. But when you're like me and you're spending a lot of time on fitness and stuff to the point that I monitor my fitness routines and regimens very tightly. Like we're talking, I know to the 10th of a mile per hour what my average pace is on the treadmill, right? Down to the minute how long I can do that for, hold what paces for what amount of time. I know exactly how to tell when I'm ready to move up. I know when I need to slow it down. I pay attention to my weight, and I can tell you based on how much I've had to eat or drink, how much I was sweating during this morning's workout. I could tell you within, probably about a pound what my current weight is. So I'm really dialed into that kind of stuff. And when you get yourself to that point, those tiny micro changes start to become very noticeable. So I definitely still feel that those impacts of that cold as I'm recovering. Like I feel so much better, and I can keep up with my paces, but it feels different. It feels different still. It feels different than where I was a day before the cold hit. So I don't know. There's no upshot to it. I'm just observing and filling time. But there's that. But for the most part, I feel good, and the fact that I was able to get my workout done despite the sort of different feel is a good sign. It shows that I am very well on the mend, and by the end of the week, we'll be back where we need to be. Really, today I'm just curious to see how I handle my kickboxing class, because I missed all of last week because I did not want to make any of my teammates sick, because actually this weekend we have some guys at my gym who have fights coming up, and I was not going to be the one that got them sick and and messed with their ability to get their last couple weeks of training in. I wasn't going to do that to them, so I skipped last week. And so missing a week on top of recovering from a cold, it'll be interesting to see how I feel tonight when I get there. But, it's all part of the process. But let's see here. It's been a couple of minutes. Let's go ahead and, hey, Wicked Smart Dragon, how's it going? It's been a couple of minutes. I'm going to go ahead and dive us in here. Let's get us going. There we go. I have 2 headphones on. Yes, so I always like putting on the I like putting on the sort of, the lo-fi beats and stuff for the background of the stream. I think it just makes it feel a little less awkward if I'm, taking a minute to think of something, if there's a little something in the background. So I have those going in these headphones. That is which is my mic, because I'm broke ass hoe and I don't have a better mic. So I need to use that, but the tunes, when they're directly in your ears, get kind of old pretty quick. So instead of listening to those, I have my other headphones on, which is my other tunes, and I like to put these in because, especially this time of year, my windows are open, and so whenever there's lawn work and stuff going on around my apartment complex, when the grounds crew is there, whenever my my apartment complex's grounds crew is working, it gets very distracting. So this helps me actually stay focused at my own music. So that's the story behind the multiple headphones. And broke ass hoe is one of my favorite terms. It's not mine. I cannot claim to have coined that term. It comes from one of the best songs ever written, by an artist named DJ Assault, from the very refined and contemplative song "Ass and Titties." So that's where it comes. And in there he talks about broke ass hoes, and so that's that's the story of that. And I will happily promote that ridiculous, absurd song. It's one of my fondest memories from college, is all of us listening to and singing that song at the top of our lungs at like 11 o'clock on a Wednesday night through the dorm hallways. Those were good times. Those were good childish times, and I miss them. I miss them dearly. Because it accurately describes me. I am a broke asshole. Anywho, what the hell were we working on last time? Last time we spent a lot of time. Yesterday, we kind of just tidied up a few things that I had sort of left for later, and it was just kind of putting off and then forgot about. We were just kind of adding in a few random events to happen at various parts of the city, just to add that potential detail, that potential extra little something for players if they decide to, if you're part of a campaign where players decide to take role play within cities, sort of to a more detailed, more involved level. So we just kind of added that in, and I feel like that was also because we spent most of the time working on our sort of giant / Goliath tribe, where it's like the runts of the giant litters, so to speak, having their own tribe there. And so we made the tribe. There's still a few things that will eventually get fit in there with the mission hooks, but that will come later once we get going on the side missions, which is, as I've kind of described before, I always like saving the side missions kind of for last when I'm designing a campaign, for 2 reasons. One, if you hurry up and get the main stuff done for a campaign, then you can like actually start playing that campaign quicker because you have the main stuff done. And who doesn't want to kind of just get to it once you've spent so much time investing in and making a campaign? You're just itching to play it, so you get the most important things so you can actually dive into that. The other reason that I do it that way is because I always hate when I come up with like a really cool side quest and it's got a lot of really cool ideas, and then later on I'm working on the main quests and I'm out of cool ideas because I already used them on the side quests. I like to make sure all of my good ideas come out when I'm doing the main quests, and then we try to come up with more ideas, the dregs of ideas that are harder to flesh out into a full, component of a main dungeon and stuff like that. Those types of things are easier to just kind of fill in the spaces for those side missions. So we will eventually come back to this, but for now, I think we are done with it. We finished our dungeon, which is the journey to the giants here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to go back to this thing here. So what our next step is we need to start working on our sort of dungeon that will be for the players to find to find the first key that's part of this campaign. Because remember, we can take a quick pause to just reflect and remember our main campaign. Where's we got it in this. It's in this page. It's in this page. So here's our main campaign, right? Remember, our goals are, they're trying to build the road that goes south. There's a dragon in the way. Says, I don't want you to do that. Humans fuck everything up. Get out of here. And then the players have the option to either say, look, we'll cut you a deal. We'll help you with something if you let us do this. Or they can say, screw you, dragon. We're gonna take everything you love, and we're going to find all the tools that we need to take you down. Regardless of what way they do it, it'll eventually lead them to recognizing and learning about a shrine that has some powerful magical objects that the dragon is interested in, or the players can try and take them for themselves, but they need to gain access to that shrine by finding the 5 keys, or was it 4 keys? I don't know the number of keys, however many keys there were. You know what, Wicked Smart Dragon, if you wanted to headcanon that you're the dragon there telling all the humans to fuck off, then that's fair. I understand it completely. But so that's what we're working on. Our suggestions allowed, certainly. No promises that I'll take them because it's my campaign to destroy. But certainly, I am always open to suggestions, because even if we don't end up taking them, suggestions are oftentimes fun to discuss, because a lot of people have really cool ideas. But yeah, so that's our campaign that we're kind of working on, and we've made the first 2 dungeons. We've kind of organized both of those. The first one being just sort of the introductory. That's actually not even related to what the final campaign mission is going to be. It's just an excuse to have the players introduced to the dragon that's going to tell them to piss off. But there's that one, and then we've done our second one, our second dungeon, which is them getting to our giant tribe, which is sort of their sort of suspected based on the other investigations that they can do and the clues that are just sort of like breadcrumbed around for them to find. As their sort of next step towards finding that first key that'll open things up for them. And so the next dungeon is going to be after they've earned that clue from said giant tribe. They are then going to travel to where this key is held, and naturally this is a game called Dungeons and Dragons, so there's going to be dungeons, and naturally it's going to be a challenge for them to obtain said key. And so we have to create a nice dungeon for them to explore and find treasure, and eventually an important component of their final goal. So I think we're kind of ready to get going on that. I do want to pull up though. I want to pull up our world map here, so I'm going to open that up quickly here. We'll get that open up here. Okay, let's see here. The dragon's treasure hoard is a bulky humanoid machine. It's broken, but you can convince the dragon to let you get it working again. Continue. That is a really fun idea, and actually, there's some stuff in there that I think would be really good to use as some of the filler side missions that I'll eventually need to add to this campaign. As far as the actual campaign goes, we've kind of already got it mapped out. I'm not describing it very well just because I want to get working on stuff here for the sake of the stream. But the general idea of that is definitely a workable thing. And in fact, that could be a fun, like, it would be a fun, I could see in there a lot of potential for a branching alternative ending, so to speak, right? If the players are looking for an extra way to fuck with the dragon as opposed to work with the dragon, they could try and steal it, or they could try and help the dragon that way. But the particular item is sort of a thematic thing. The specific thing that the dragon wants them to help them to... The dragon wants access to this item, but currently the dragon does not have access to that item because the dragon does not have the keys. And so the dragon would like help finding said keys to unlock the shrine that is protecting this item. The item is an item that allows him to look into the past and sort of see the results of different actions. And the idea is this dragon is very protective of his territory. So he's, if he's gonna, oh shit, we're getting raided. Oh shit, it's happening. Oh god, we're getting overrun. It's a raid. It's a raid. They're coming in. They're coming in. Just get ready for it. They're coming in. They're coming in. But yeah, so the dragon wants that item that will allow it to sort of see in the past. And oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate. Oh my god, I'm getting followed by so many. Oh my god, Michael is oh, Michael is an Ewok. Okay, Michael the Ewok. Thank you for the follow. And Onisarius, thank you guys so much for the follow and for the raid. I appreciate you guys. We are doing excellent today. We're doing even better now that you guys are here. Finger guns. Welcome to the party. Oh, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm glad you guys are here. We're talking about the campaign that we're working on, just sort of doing a quick refresher of the storyline that we're working on, and then we're going to work on one of our dungeons that we need for the whole process of this campaign. Okay, let's see here. Velixian, you've got your continued thing. Level 6 Warforged Totem Barbarian NPC taking Eagle Totem. Level 6 with Observant Feet. Wow, you've got a very specific thing in mind here. Its memory banks are broken upon reaching level 8. The party can find a way to fix it, and it gains Keen Mind Feet. That's a very specific thing. That's a very specific thing. I like it. I like it, and it actually makes me think of a player I had one time that played a Warforged that kind of had the similar concept going on, where its memory was questionable. But I like the idea. I like the idea, and I think it's fun. You know what I like about that idea? That idea could be used, like that just generalized idea is a really good one for folding in a new player partway through a campaign. Like if you're in a situation where you have a campaign that's been going for a while and like a new friend wants to join in and everyone's like, sure, let's find a way to fold them in. If they're willing to take suggestions on their character that they play, that's a really good way to fold them in, right? You can kind of do that. But I like the idea. I definitely like the idea. It's a cool one. I don't know that there's a place for it in this campaign just because I've already kind of got it mapped out. But I do like the idea. I do really like that idea. I think it's a really cool one. But yeah, so the dragon wants the mirror that'll let it see into the past. So that way, if it's going to allow humans into its region, it can sort of use the past as a refresher, as a way to learn about ways that humans have fucked shit up in the past, because that's what the dragon's concerned about. That's what his motivation is. He doesn't like human activity. He's seen humans in the past. He knows they tend to overmine, overfarm, and just sort of lay waste to areas. They get into wars all the time, and the dragon's like, don't freaking do that in my plains. And so it wants that item so that way it can see into the past and know, like, okay, if humans have done this type of thing in the past that they're talking about doing now, then we're not gonna let it do it. Or if things have turned out fine, then okay, maybe we'll let it happen. Ramir reveals today is the past, and then it turns into okay, I like that one. Then it turns into an endless Inception thing, and the whole quest becomes about trying to wake up from a dream, or to try and return to the future. Yeah, they realize that they are the flashback of the movie, right? They're not the present time in the movie. They realize they're the flashback. You know, when the movie says 3 weeks later or 3 weeks earlier, that's what it does. Or maybe it's just an existential crisis mirror and it lies to you and says those things, but very convincingly so that everyone's panicking all the time. That's what the true power of the mirror is, but no one realizes that because the mirror keeps lying and causing everyone to panic about nothing. There's just an infinite amount of possibilities here. No, but that's kind of the campaign that we're working with here. And so the sort of leg of this campaign we've been working on here, this is our main city here that our players have to work with. And we've just sort of done a little thing where they've journeyed through the mountains here to find a tribe of to find a tribe of giants that are just like, it's a collective of all of the runts that have been kicked out of their giant tribes. And so they're all kind of like, no, giants are assholes. And like, that's what the players are going to find anyway. You know, there's clues leading up to why they would go there and find that out. Which basically comes down to, like, the humans know that there's some giants there that are not aggressive. Maybe go check with them, because we know one of the keys is hiding in the mountains, probably with the giants. And so they're going to go there. The anti-giant tribe. Yeah, exactly. Well, so I'm working. This is entirely homebrew, and I tend to play very fast and loose with lore as written. In the 5e, D&D universe, I play very fast and loose with it because it's a homebrew world, and I do whatever the fuck I want with it just for the sake of making fun campaigns for my friends. And so within my world, the basics of my world are, a couple thousand years ago, there's an event called the Unhinging. Everything went all kinds of crazy. That's why there's all kinds of magic and monstrosities in the world. Humanoids were relegated to a few protected cities that they were able to fortify against all those horrible things. But now, 2,000 years later, there's a lot of stuff happening where, adventurers are trying to go out and reclaim a lot that was lost, is what's sort of happening. And so, with that sort of baseline of a couple thousand years ago, everything was shaken up. It gives us a lot of opportunity for fun ways to describe why some things exist. And so my rough idea is that the Runt tribe here, this tribe, is the first instance, basically, of Goliaths. And so that's kind of the storyline that I haven't really fleshed out, but is in my head, that this is actually kind of the first tribe of Goliaths. But yeah, they think the giants are assholes because they treated them, and then eventually they treated them like shit, and then eventually banished them from their giant tribes because they were the runts of the litter, so to speak. So, oh shoot, I missed one of your things. IRL, the campaign takes place in a technologically broken future. That actually sounds like a rad idea, and that would be a really fun. So I actually really like the idea of using something like that to do a D&D campaign. And then, like, when you and your players are kind of like, yeah, we kind of want to shake things up, you use that as a springboard into your, like, Starfinder campaign or something. That's what that sounds like now, and I actually think that would be really funny. Moonbow Rose, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Thank you so much. I mean, I've been working on, so yes, there's a lot that I have very fleshed out in this homebrew world. Because this world is one that I kind of conceptualized. I mean, like, the cohesive world got conceptualized in my goofy imaginary brain, and it what kind of took place about 5 years ago. But I've been working on stuff that fits in this world for like the better part of a decade. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff that I've come up with and have decided is canon. So it is fairly fleshed out at this point in time, the world in general. And, purists would probably be very frustrated with it, but, they can suck it because it's my homebrew world and I can do whatever I want. So take that. Love the art style. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I can't really claim too much credit for the art style. I'm using a program called Purists can cuck it. Absolutely. No, but I can't really claim too much credit for the art style. I'm using a program called Wonderdraft. Suck, cuck, either way, they can uck it. Whichever consonant you want to open it with, they can uck it. That's what I say, and that's canon too in my world. No, the program I'm using, it's called Wonderdraft. So I can't really claim credit for the art style, although I will take credit for organizing and creating this map. And actually, so if we're gonna if we're gonna sit here and stroke my ego about it, hold on, let me pull up the whole world that I've created in here. Yeah, now you got me going. Now you guys got me going, and we're gonna go ahead and follow this tangent because it makes me feel good about myself. This is my homebrew world. This is the world of Zaoria. This is the entire planet. There's a lot of stuff dotted all around this world that we've fleshed out, and I love this world very much. It's my baby. I have so much fun creating things in it. I'm very proud of it. It's amateur, but gall darn it, if I haven't put in enough hours for me to look at it as my little homunculus child and love it just the same. But yeah, this is my world, and the campaign we're working on is this hex alone right here. My sort of grand scheme, the way I do things, each one of these hexes contains a campaign intended for about 10 levels worth of play. Is sort of the way I organize things. Each one of these hexes has enough space and enough room for a nice 10-level campaign-ish, somewhere around there. And so I've worked on stuff for up in here. I've got players playing in this hex over here, which means we're not going over there because they know my stream, and if they're watching, I ain't gonna give them any sort of insider. I suppose I could look at I don't see any of them there, but that doesn't mean they're not lurking. But yeah, this is my world. It is insane. You're absolutely right. It's 100% insane. Just like me, it's quite fitting. It's quite fitting. But yeah, this is my fantasy world. I also have a sci-fi world, sci-fi galaxy that I work on from time to time. I spend less time in that one these days, just because I have so much going on with D&D stuff between the stream and between my my friends that were playing a D&D campaign right now. But yeah, world building has been a hobby of mine for for at least a decade. Depending on how loosely you use the term world building, if we count creating sci-fi short stories just for fun, like in high school, I've been world building for over a decade of my life at this point in time, which is a little uncomfortable for me to say because I'm not comfortable being old enough to describe anything I've done in my life as decades. But we can just ignore that and pretend I'm not aging and slowly, day by day, having to face my own mortality a little bit more. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. If I'm not being sarcastic for the sake of the lulz, I actually don't mind the fact that I'm almost 30. I'm quite comfortable with my life. I'm in a good place in life. A place where I can have this world, share it, and people think it's cool. Like, I'd say I'm doing something kind of fun and interesting and right with my life, so, neat. Anyway, if I'm done tooting my own horn, toot toot, we're working on, I guess it's fine for us to sort of take stock of everything that's going on. This is where the campaign is taking place, in this hex right here. And so if we pull out our region map here, so it's obviously not a hex, right? We just kind of, it's all loose, right? It's all kind of loose. It's medieval mapping. Things aren't always 100% satellite accurate. So sue me. But this is the world. We got our Siski Forest up here. We got our High Doom Mountains down here. We got the Golden Wind Plains over here, and it's like, that's where our dragon comes from. Our dragon is sort of the self-appointed guardian of the Golden Wind Plains over here. And he generally doesn't like the giants that live among the mountains. Within the mountains, there's also Cogdaral, which was originally one of the dwarven cities. The dwarves were, during the unhinging, when everything kind of went chaotic, obviously, inside the mountains, there's going to be a lot of room for a lot of monstrosities to be born from all of the tears in reality that happened during the unhinging. So they were driven out. Those that couldn't escape were sort of stuck there, and the corruption of the magic turned them into the Duergar, so it's very overrun by that. And then we've got up here the Siski Forest, which did originally have elves. We have Ashrin Nalor here, which wasn't originally anything. It was created by the Drow, which were again corrupted elves who were there during the unhinging. Blah 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 blah. Lots of stuff I've spent a lot of time thinking about, and to no productive avail. But there it is. Let's see. Medieval mapping included fake towns, so they knew if someone stole their work. I have heard of that. I've heard of that. And yeah, exactly, Onisarius, because that's how I learned about it. I learned about the practice in the first place because I learned until kind of until like satellites were able to sort of confirm and made like map making almost an obsolete thing. Not really, but you know what I mean. You know what the fuck I'm saying. Yeah, people would put fake towns and fake landmarks and stuff in maps. So that way, if someone else like claimed to have an original map or something like that, and they put in the fake thing, like the original artist would know. It's kind of the same as how. It's kind of the same as how, I was watching that one Netflix series, Toys That Made Us, right? It's kind of how, like, they would put scars and invert the thumbnail on the original G.I. Joes. So they would know if someone, copied the mold exactly, if the thumb was wrong or if the scar was in the exact same place. They would know that someone was ripping off the original G.I. Joes. It's really interesting the way that people would sort of do copyright stuff like that in the past. I think it's fascinating. Toying with the idea of doing that on a map that you intend to give players. Yeah, I mean, if you're worried that they're gonna like run around and do stuff, like, you can do it. And like the other fun part about it too is if you're doing it for your players in a campaign, if you throw in those types of random things, then they can be fun red herrings for players. They can be fun little red herrings for them to have to deal with. And I actually have intention of throwing some red herrings into the map that I provide them, as a way to like make them wonder and think about like, oh, should we do we need to explore this one thing that we haven't explored and don't have a reason to explore, and just sort of like hide fun little extra items, like extra powerful magical items or something in there. So it's like if they decide to go rogue and just go exploring on the map that I give them, there's a little reward for them to do that. I've toyed with the idea of doing that. And maybe I already have. I'm not going to say because my players might be watching right now. So, haha. I don't know where I'm coming from. Yeah, no, and like the thing is, too, with the setup that I've done with the unhinging, having sort of thrown the world out of whack and forced people to retreat to one of basically about 10 fortified cities, like the 10 largest cities in my world, because people were kind of forced to do that. It leaves just an infinite amount of possibilities for ghost towns and stuff to exist in my world. And that's one of the reasons why I sort of came up with that idea. I wanted an excuse, because for me, one of the things that always fascinates me when I'm doing my world building, just a concept that always fascinates me and I love, is the concept of ancient, lost, forgotten cultures and civilizations. I love the idea of like finding an unassuming entrance to a building that you find, like has this mass underground network of like this really complicated culture or civilization that once existed and just is completely forgotten, doesn't exist anymore. Like, I love that concept. I love, ancient technologies type of stuff. I love that stuff. And so I wanted an excuse to provide that. And so having an event that forced people to abandon society and life as they knew it a couple thousand years ago just kind of gave me the perfect excuse to do that, and I've just kind of been working with it ever since. I love it. Absolutely love it. But anywho, now that I've again been tooting my own horn about my creations, we can probably get back. One thing that I can do, we did name this tribe. I'm gonna change this label up because we did actually give this tribe a name now. It's not just the Runt tribe. I was calling it that because it was the tribe of all of the Runts. But we called it the Rico. Was it the Rico? How did I spell it? Nikos tribe. The Nikos tribe. That's what it was. Man, I can't even remember my own names. I give my crap. So the Nikos tribe is what they call themselves. And so we can go ahead and enter that in there. So they're just kind of chilling up there. And so the storyline is that players are looking for these keys. They find out that one of the keys was like, they find in the archives, in the ancient archives, some information about our shrine here, which is the Hall of Wisdom, and that's where the mirror that they're trying to get is located at. And so it was intentionally guarded and protected because there was concerns that the mirror was too powerful. No one should be able to see in the past, because it's the whole Mirror of Erised, thing. Like, no person should spend too much time viewing anything other than the present because it tears you out and it's bad and blah blah blah, right? And so it's protected. And so the players now need to find those keys. One of those keys was sort of like given to the mountains, and last any record showed of it, it was with one of the giant tribes. And so when this town had first been founded, because this town is a new one, this is part of the efforts to reclaim a lot of this land, right? When this town was founded, it turns out like they had, as they were setting up the town, they had seen kind of off in the distance in the mountain passes there, some giants that were kind of observing them set it up, then turned and left. And so what it was is the giants would occasionally make pilgrimages down to this lake here so they could do fishing and stuff like that. They would occasionally do that. They'd come down from the mountains. But the giants, now seeing other humanoids there, didn't want to make a fuss and weren't confident in their ability to handle the number of humans and dwarfs mostly that were forming a town there. So they retreated back there. But the humans and dwarves, the people setting up our town here, saw that and were like, oh, there's definitely giants out here in the mountains. We'll have to keep an eye on that. And so now that our players are in need of going into the mountains, the clue, the sort of breadcrumb that I'm dropping for them is like, there's knowledge of a giant tribe that is not inherently violent. You know, we know that they were in this area. We knew that they wanted to be here. And we know that there's a pathway, because you can go up and you can kind of see the pathway. And so they want to, so the idea is that they'll go there and they'll approach this tribe and find that the tribe is largely friendly, especially if the players are willing to work with them against the other giant tribes, because the Nikos tribes thinks that they're all dickheads. I'd have to switch over to lurking now. Super late in Australia. Need to start getting ready to sleep. No problem at all. No problem at all. I'm sure it'll be a chill one. I always have a blast with these. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it. And lurkers are always as welcome as participants. I'm actually always flattered when people are interested in lurking. Like, I'm flattered that people would want to have my content just as background noise, because that's like what I use most streams for, is background noise. So I totally get it, and I find it very flattering. Are they all dickheads? Like 95% of them at least. At least. I mean, they allowed all of the small ones that needed the most protection of the giants to be bullied and kicked out of the tribe. So at the very least, they're passive dickheads. Even if they're not actively being dickish, they're definitely not actively trying to be better. So you know. And for the sake of a campaign, just giving players, like, you know, an understanding of who's an enemy and who isn't, yeah, they're dickheads. That's just it. Good question, though. Yeah, the only not dickhead giants are the Nikos tribe here. So think of a modern day allegory. There's a lot of modern day allegories, but this isn't a political stream, so we're not gonna dive into that stuff. In today's political climate, oh golly, it's dangerous territory. Those are rocky waters we're treading there with that. With that, yeah, leaving it vague is the best decision, I believe. All right, so we've got our tribe here, and we have our map. You can actually see the map if we pull up our tribe here. You can see this was the map that we made for this tribe. It still bothers me that it's all the same tent, but they only have one tent icon, so we just kind of spammed it. And so, yes, it is OneNote. OneNote is where I organize pretty much all of my world building stuff, because the ability to do tabs and notebooks and like all this stuff, it's the easiest way to keep it all like organized in one place that I've found. There's a lot of different tools, and different tools make sense. I feel like different tools make sense to different people based on how your mind works and organizes things. For me, this is the one that I go for. I very much enjoy using OneNote. Even when I try and explore other options for keeping my notes organized, I kind of always come back to this. It's beyond impressive. It's beyond obsessive is what it is. This is the product of many hours obsessing over it. Pizza. Oh my God, you're gonna make me starving here, man. Pizza sounds awesome right now. We're gonna change the stream. This is gonna be a mukbang stream. I'm just gonna eat pizza on it. God, no, I'm not. I would never do that. I would never do that. The sound of people chewing into a microphone makes me uncomfortable. I would never do that to people. But yeah, we can see our map here. And we've got 2 different pathways that go off for different purposes. The one we're going to work with here is the one that leads kind of to the southeast here. And so if we look at our map, our region map, it's going to come over, it's going to kind of come down through this area here. And I kind of want to, I want to use up some of this area here. And so what I think I'm going to do for this, so I kind of need to do 2 things here. Now, I have all kinds of rules in place for if players are just traveling over long pathways. If players are traveling over this pathway, we default to using, we've got it organized here. We've got all these random event tables, right, that you can kind of see here. I guess I don't need to zoom out too much. There's only so much that we're going to show. Whoops. Oops, did not mean to type. I'm still using my my Wonder Draft hotkeys, which is a mistake. But we can come up here. So there's our Underdark stuff, mountains. So we've got all kinds of mountains, random events tables that can be that we can fall back on for just sort of generic travel through the mountains, which there's going to be some of. But for the sake of mixing things up, so I use the term dungeon very loosely when I'm creating dungeons. And so dungeons don't always have to be you go in the door, there's a dark place with monsters and stuff like that. It can be, I leave them very open. For example, the last dungeon we did actually was sort of the closing part of this journey, and it's them going through the mountainous foothills to get to the Nikos tribe, right? And so it's them actually going through the foothills of the mountain that we organized into sort of a dungeon setup. And I think I kind of want to employ something similar. So this dungeon, the way I do my dungeons, I've got a very modular system that I've worked on that I always say, follow my approach. Follow my approach with a grain of salt, just in terms of organizing and setting challenges for your dungeons. Follow my approach with a grain of salt, because my approach to making dungeons is very much tailored to how I run my games based on what I like to provide and what my players enjoy playing in. Every group is going to feel things a little differently. Every DM is going to want to do things a little differently. So my stuff will definitely not always be perfect for everyone. That said, the way I organize things is I have, within the main campaign, 1 dungeon per level that it takes place of, and within that dungeon is enough challenge and fights and everything to carry 5 players of like the starting level to the next level. So a level 3 dungeon is meant for 5 level 3 players, and it has enough rooms and monsters and everything in it to take them from level 3 to level 4 if they take the time to go out and clear out every single room in the dungeon. That's how I organize things. I found that that's a really good way to balance giving them some easy stuff and some difficult stuff in every dungeon, providing enough stuff so that if they're players that are very goal-oriented, they have enough stuff that they don't fall behind while trying to do the main campaign and that alone. And it's a good way to make things feel like the sort of intensity and epicness of it is growing with them as they go through the campaign, right? Because by the end of it, you know, when this campaign is taking place from levels 1 to level 10, and so by the time they get to level 10, right, doing this formula, this format, it's gonna be just this huge mega dungeon, right? And that's you know, I find that players really like that. When you get to that final dungeon, it makes it feel really epic. It makes it feel like they're really in something big. They've gotten themselves in like almost way over their heads, and they're trying to survive this mega dungeon. So that's how I do things. Different DMs are going to want to do things differently. It depends very heavily on how much roleplay your group likes versus how much modular gameplay style. My players really like a mix of both. So it's like when they're in the cities, and when they're traveling, we kind of lean very heavily on the roleplay type stuff, but they also really like that. They like that sort of modular dungeon exploration, clear out the rooms, Skyrim, see what kind of treasures you can find, collect all the gold, all the items. They like that component too. So providing the mega dungeons gives them the opportunity to have that form of gameplay, and then when they leave the dungeon, it's kind of like a switch flips, and it's like, okay, now we're to the more role-playing type stuff. And it ends up being a good balance based on my group, what I like to provide, what my players like to play in, and stuff like that. So like you're saying, your players are very much more into the role play, and they like, you know, singular big fights. So you're gonna design your dungeons probably a lot different than I design mine. And to which I say, hell yeah, that's what makes it so much fun. Like, that's the best part about D&D. You can tailor it to what every group likes, and there's no really right or wrong way to do it. The only wrong way is to provide something that nobody likes, right? If your group likes it and you guys are all having fun, you're playing the game right, and you're DMing right, and that's the best part of it. That's the best part of it. So, yeah. So that's how I do my stuff. Just sort of as the sort of disclaimer for as I'm continuing to describe how I organize things. So for this dungeon, being a level 3 dungeon, there's going to be basically 3 sets of rooms the way I break it up. There's always like, I set things up into sets of 10 rooms, so that gives me plenty of room to work, plenty of room, get it, plenty of room to work with, to organize and provide all the different challenges that my players are going to want. And so this is going to be a 3-level, a 3-room set dungeon. And I want to do one of them being encountering another giant tribe, right? And it's going to be interesting how to do that, because I kind of want that to be a more stealth approach, because they're going to be pretty underleveled for giants as written, at least. But I want to do that as part of it, and then have like the dungeon that the key is hidden in have 2 of those sets. So I'm going to have to get a little creative. I'm going to have to think about it a little bit, but we'll, it's all a process. We'll get there. So I like homebrew. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's why I'm a big fan of homebrew, because it lets you sort of tailor that experience to what your players are interested in. 1 session in the dungeon, maybe 2, then 5 to 8 sessions in the city. Yeah, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. My group, we tend to be pretty 50-50. We'll spend like 4 or 5 sessions in the city getting prepped for the next dungeon, handling all of the different story, side quest type of roleplay stuff they need to do. And then they get to the dungeon, and they're very thorough, and they like to, and the current dungeon we're in, we've been in the dungeon for 2 sessions now, and I think there's at least probably 4 or 5 more sessions in that dungeon, depending on how quickly they explore and go through everything. So, yeah, no, every group's different, and I absolutely love that. But let's see, the first thing I want to do is I just kind of want to think about a little bit where the pathway is going to be for the players here as they're going through this. So it kind of goes through here. And I want to try and figure out how to make it so that this pathway is still visible. If we do... Hold on, if we draw over symbols... Hold on, let me undo this here. If we do the over symbols, so this is where we have to get kind of creative about things. So yeah, we can do the... If we do it this way, then we have it go through. The trick is then I need to try and have the pathway follow the contours of the mountains a little bit, so that like really I want it to look like it winds in and among the mountains a little bit here. Let's see here. We can do that, and we can have it like go through there, and then it goes through this valley, I think. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. It's not gonna let me. Let's see here. Let's just go ahead and actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put an end to the pathway. Yeah, see, I can hear it even through my headphones right now. I can hear them doing lawn work outside. That's why I have the headphones in, because otherwise I'd be super distracted all the time by that. We'll end that right there, so we can put like the other giant tribe there. Let's see, if you don't have a whole backstory and intricate character arcs for every single NPC, get disappointed. Yes! Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, my players, every group of players I've ever played with is exactly like that. Why the beggar ended up becoming a beggar, what he lost what he really wants. Yes, 100% my players do that. It's the reason why in past campaigns I have created a medieval Walmart for their shopping, because I swear to God, like I've had groups of players that would go into a store, like it would be like they're just traveling, and it's like, oh, there's a small town of 200 people, they're all farmers. You know, if you need to stop and get supplies, to be like, I want to go into the general store and I want to ask the main character what his name is. I want to know who his family is. I want to know if he's got children. I want to know what his children like to do in their free time, and I want to know what kind of things that we can do to help him out, because I want to see if I can earn a discount, and I want to do all this stuff. I'm like, Christ almighty, guys, this is a 5-minute shopping spree for you to get more rations. What the hell? Because, yeah, like, I have noticed that players love that kind of stuff. And I think that's great. I think it's super fun that they like that. You know what? Actually, I wanna do something here. I actually want to change this and put this here so we can put the other tribe there. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna put the tribe right there. Yeah, it's 100% what my players do every time. I love it. I love it, but it's also exhausting. It's also very, very exhausting. And so it's like you have to find the balance. Like, and the only reason I find it, I have a problem with it, is because for my players, well, I'm just gonna match up the size here, make sure I get the same. There we go. So we'll have another giant tribe that's like over here. Actually, even better. I'm gonna put it like right there. I'm gonna put it right there. Why isn't it letting me place this? What's the malfunction? Why are we not? Oh, it's putting it under the mountain. That's why. I gotta layer this. Here, I need to put this like above. Just put this at level 5, maybe. There we go. So, and then I'm gonna move it to a better place there. But yeah, no, I love it when my players do that kind of stuff. I actually very much appreciate them getting that involved in the stuff that I make. But like, there's a balance you have to strike, because as a DM, when you're trying to run a game, if you're always role playing that level of detail with all of that kind of stuff, it can get very exhausting very quickly. And so I always find that it's important to try and manage that a little bit. I actually don't like that. I'm gonna change my approach to this a little bit here. So like that's the only reason why it ends up being sort of a quote unquote problem. Is because I need my players, or I need myself as the DM to be like, you know, ready for the important things. Why are we being difficult here? Okay, I don't know. Oh boy. Oh boy. There we go. There it goes. There it goes. And I just want to change up and do something a bit more specific with everything. My goodness, this is just being as difficult as possible here. Let's see here. Things you did last campaign was make a guy who had 23 milligrams of himself, spread them around the world. One backstory to remember. Yes, I have done that. That's what my medieval Walmart was. It was owned and operated by one guy who was magical, and he would just like jump between realms so that he could always be at whatever shop he needed to be at. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. My players, like at that point in time, my players were kind of intentionally doing it just to screw with me. I don't understand why this is being so difficult for me right now. I need to figure out how to consistently get these stupid things to be the layer that I need. If we advanced, let's see here. Layer shuffle. Why can't I choose what layer? Oh wait, default. There it is. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Good lord. Good lord. My Lanta. Let's see if we mirror this too. We can get a few extras out of it. I just want to. I kind of want to just set all of these individually to make sure that it looks properly, like it's sort of set on the mountain there. There we go. That's what I needed right there. Boom. There's probably 8 million things hidden under the mountain that if we just got rid of the mountain, you'd see all of them sitting there now. It's a process. That's why I streamed this, so you can see my screw-ups and my dumbassery, and that way you guys can learn. So that way if you use this table for yourselves, you can save yourselves time and not go through the struggles that I go through. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's on purpose. Oh, lordy. Okay. So we'll put that as the giant tribe. Because the thought that I had, and I think what I'm going to stick with for this is I want my... can we... that's going to look silly. It's going to look silly if I do it that way. I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab it here. Push. Because I don't think... Yeah, it's not going to let me, so it's just going to end up looking kind of goofy, I think. The only other option... let me things here. I just want to center it so that way I don't have this issue again. Yeah, I think I'm going to put the shrine like somewhere maybe on this mountaintop. I want it to be like kind of off there in the mountains, and I want it to be on a mountaintop there. So that's what I want to do with it. So let's go ahead. Yeah, I guess we'll just start making another one. We'll start it there. Yeah, it's going to look a little goofy, I guess. I'll just have to accept that and move on with my life, I guess. So we'll do... Yeah, I hate that. It looks so bad. I don't like it. Hold on. I need to fix it. If we do that... Yeah, it makes it look bunched up there, and I'm struggling with that. So one other thing you've done is shopkeeper in some big cities take a keen interest in them. Yeah. Should try to tie one of their backstories into shopkeeping in some way. Fair enough. And then they won't want to shop anywhere else. They'll just wait to re-gear up when they're back there. Yeah, that works too. I've kind of found the balance that I've struck. I can show you. So in our big city here, I've pre-created all of the shops that they can have based on the type of thing they want. And basically anything that they're likely to want to buy, there's a specifically pre-made shop for that I've already thought of who the shopkeepers are, what their personalities are like, you know, and so it's easy enough to sort of ad-lib if they want some backstory. It's easy enough to ad-lib it. But basically when I do it this way, what I find, if they're sort of predetermined and pre-planned out, I can offer players that fun role-play stuff without having to put much mental energy into it during a session. And because they're like sort of pre-made markets and stuff like that, for my players, they sort of key into the fact that I'm not making up a fun character or anything. It's like, no, this is the shopkeeper. Like, he is here to keep the shop, and that's it. And so they kind of get the hint, and they have their fun interactions with the shopkeeper, but they don't look for anything more. They don't try to find any more depth there. And so that's kind of been my approach to it, and it's worked so far anyway. It's worked so far. Okay, let's see here. So if I start this here. Okay, all right. That already looks so much better than what we've than what has been there. It's a little goofy looking there, but I'm gonna accept it and not fight it, because there's only so much energy and time that I have in my life. But I'm gonna set this up here, and so now I want to show the pathway kind of winding up to the mountaintop here. Hold on. Let me try and reduce. No, I don't want to. God damn it! I need to. Hold on. It kind of randomizes a lot of the twists and turns that you put on there. So I think if I do that, I want it to try and follow the contour of the thing there. That's what she said. Sorry, that was childish of me. I apologize. No, but I want it to kind of follow the contour of the mountain there, so that way it kind of looks like a natural path. I just don't want it to look too much like just a random path floating over top of anything. I want it to look like a path that actually winds through the mountains. But it's kind of tricky to get it just right so that the path is visible over top of the mountain things. You know, like one of the tricks that I like to use if I have a bit more time and I'm planning ahead a bit better is you can do some of the mountains down, like lay the path down over top of those, and then put a couple extra mountains over top, so you can occasionally have like this peak that sits over the pathway, so you can kind of see the pathway go behind the mountain. Makes it feel a bit more 3D. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm saying it, if we do this, but if we move that, if we do that, hold on, nope, that's gonna put it there. Yeah, it's it's gonna float over top there. So, but maybe what we could do, hold up. We can figure this out. Yeah, it's gonna keep floating everything over top because of the layer thing. Wait, hold on. Undo. If we move that to default, but it's always gonna keep the pathway over top because I put the pathway at 5. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and explore this a little bit. I'm gonna let myself digress here just a little bit. So let's grab this. Let me yeah, because see, if you take it away, then it goes Because it doesn't let me control the layer specifically of the pathway the same as the rest of the symbols is the problem. Yeah. Yeah, alright, well, that's the best we're going to do, so we're just going to leave it, and I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight knowing that it's imperfect, but, you know, that'll be my own haunting demon to have to live with, so. So there we are. That's okay. It's okay. It's alright. It's okay. I'm saying that repeatedly to make myself believe it. It's not working. Alright, let's see here. It looks good. Thank you. I appreciate you helping to ease my mind. Even though you're clearly lying because it looks like shit. No, I'm just kidding. Alright, we need to put a little something here to represent our shrine. And I'm thinking like a little steeple that we just put like right on top there. I want to put that. I want to layer this one. Hold on, undo. This one I do want to layer up because I do want this to be sort of on top of everything. There we go. So the mountain, okay, the mountain's gonna look, the pathway's gonna look weird. Hold on. Damn it! I thought we put it to bed, but I was wrong. No! Undo. Oh, and it crashed. Great. That's a lot of work that I probably didn't get saved. Hold on, let's see if the autosave covered it. Oh, what a shit show. Open up our map. It's unavailable. It might have been moved, renamed, or removed. Do you want to? Uh-oh, that's going to be fun. This is going to be real exciting if the whole thing crashed. Hold on. Cancel. Hold on. I know another way that we can go about it. Open. Let's see. What was auto-saved? No, it's all gone. It's all gone. I promise I won't have a breakdown. I promise I won't have a breakdown on screen. No, actually, at this point, it's easy to recover. Because we've already done it, so we just have to recreate everything that we fussed over. We just have to recreate everything, which actually is easier than trying to create it in the first place. So we can, and actually, this gives me an opportunity. Now that I know where I want it to go. If I need a restroom break to go have a breakdown. No, that'll come in about 15 minutes when I break in between writing and video game streams. So I will have my breakdown, don't you worry. I'm just gonna save it for later. No, I swear this actually we can use this to our advantage. So we're still gonna have to work around our mountains, but because we now know where I want the pathway to go, we can use this as an opportunity to navigate our pathway a little bit here. See, check this out. We can do this a little bit here. Goes like that, right? And we knew our pathway is going to go around that mountain because that's where our other tribe is going to be set up, right? But now I don't have two separate pathways that look like they kind of clash with each other and can't decide which one goes over top of the other one. And we can use this to our advantage. See, we call this making lemonade, all right? And it's gonna be great. Hold on, I'm gonna undo that pathway a little bit because I need it to arc up a bit better. All right, there we go. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. And what we can do now is do that there. And the other thing that's good about this is an important reminder of why we come over here and we press the save button from time to time. So, there we go. We've recovered. Only a minor breakdown. Only a minor fit of hysterics. No, it's good. It's all good. And the good news about it is this is all very fun to me. I enjoy this quite a bit, and I'm perfectly fine with having to redo things from time to time. Even for silly reasons like this. And so we want to let's see here, advanced. Let's see here. Yeah, we were fussing with all of this stuff. Where did I end up finding the thing that I needed? Oops, no, that's not what I wanted. That's the rotation, advanced color, simple scale. There's something that we'd figure. Oh yeah, it was like over here. Layer management on default layer. That's what we wanted here. If we just do it as like a +1 layer, does that? Yeah, that puts it over the mountain. That way we can still put things over top of it if we need to. But we'll see, we can do that. We can mirror the symbols a little bit there. See, look at that. We can do that to mix things up a little bit here. No, bring me over here. Kind of put, we'll maybe put that one up there on the mountain a little bit there. Do that. Let's mirror it a little bit, or unmirror it, I suppose. We'll just build ourselves a little village like we're looking for. Oops, I don't like that. That's the scale on that one's a little off. Hold on. Let's shrink that down just a little bit there. Check that, and then we can mirror the symbol. Put that right there. And then I think we can squeeze it. Maybe we'll squeeze in. There we go. Hold on, undo. I like it. There we go. There. That looks good. That looks perfectly fine. It looks perfectly fine. The other thing that I need to remember is I'm sitting here like hyper zoomed in here, noticing everything that looks a little off. Let's remember the perspective of the players is going to be somewhere around here at most. They can see there's a little bit of a village there. We'll put a label right there. They can see the pathway, and then we'll put the object right there, and they can see it. And for the players, especially when you put it in a PDF and it lowers the fidelity just a little bit from that compression, it's going to look perfectly fine. Also, my friends are not super hypercritical, so it doesn't matter. So there we go. So we got that one. Save. See, I can learn. It takes a few tries, but I can learn. We'll do that, and then we want to find our little steeple here again. Shrink that down a little bit. But we'll do that nice and big. I want that to be noticeable. And we can put that right there. Right there where our pathway ends. And that actually looks quite wonderful there. So we'll save that. It's perfect. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it. Darling map, you're fabulous, and I love you. All right. So there's that. Let's add a couple labels here. Let's some text here. Let's zoom in a little bit just so we can see it and make sure it looks pretty when we put it there. As always, we choose the only font that's acceptable, Bilbo. Any other font is incorrect, and I will die on that hill. Let's see here. Let's do Giant Tribe. Let's shrink that font down a little bit. Let's put that at like 22, I think. I don't want that to be hyper noticeable. Add some curvature, rotate it. Boom, right there. If we do that, let's see here. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I like that. I like that just as it is. And then let's go ahead and do a label up here. Call this one Mountain Shrine. We want our curvature to go the opposite way, I think. See, this can be kind of a trick to get this to curve. In the getting the labels right in the mountains, there's a certain art form to it. Because you want to make sure that the words are visible, so you got to kind of have the curvature work with not only the symbol that we're trying to label, but also work around the mountain so that it's not sitting over any of these like dark patches. And so if we do that, I think that looks good. Yes, I think that looks fabulous. Darling, you're fabulous. Don't change a thing. Yeah. Let's save that. I like it. I like it a lot. There we go. Cool. So, yeah. I think that looks good. I really like that. So now let's start working on our framework for our dungeon. So for that, so the idea that I have for the dungeon here and what we're going to do. So, you know, again, the storyline, they're coming here hoping for some information on where that first key is. What is going to happen here, the way we're going to play this is they're going to, as long as players are of a more, hold on. Okay, sorry. I just needed to see and make sure. I can, through my earbuds, through my monitors here, I can hear the like industrial grade lawnmowers happening outside my apartment. because it's gorgeous. It's like the perfect temperature for open windows right now. So I have the windows open, and the lawnmowers are going by. I wanted to make sure my mic wasn't picking it up. Because if it was, I'd go close the windows. I'd do this for you guys. But since I don't have to, fuck you, I'm leaving the windows open. So, sorry, that was needlessly aggressive. No one was getting mad at me. Anyway, back on task. So they're going to go up to the tribe here, talk with the leader of the tribe, who's going to say, I know where that key is. I will give you this information. In exchange, you'll have to follow a pathway. There's a pathway that goes up to the shrine that the giants like to worship at. So you're going to have to navigate through there and get to that shrine. In exchange, the pathway goes right by one of the tribes. We want to try and exert our dominance. If you can go into that tribe and find a way to weaken the people in some way, shape, or form, then you know, we would be appreciative of that, because we will be following after you so that we can lead an attack on this tribe and defeat them in combat and show them who's boss, essentially, because that's what the leader of this tribe wants. He wants to be taken seriously, essentially. And so he's going to say, if you go ahead and make it easy for us to beat up these guys, then you can go and take whatever you want in the shrine. When you guys are on your way back, we'll be in charge of this thing. It'll be easier traveling for you. It's great for everyone. And what that does, by setting it up that way, by letting him trust the players ahead of time, basically what that's going to set up is an opportunity for players to make things easier for themselves, or if they choose not to, they'll make things more difficult for themselves, because these guys will attack this tribe. They'll get steamrolled because this tribe will be at full strength. And so now the players not only will still have to compete with these guys going, you know, back through, but they also will not have allies to help them out at this tribe, which makes things in the future, when they do have to eventually come back to the mountains, is going to make things a little bit more of a challenge. So it sets up a bit of complexity that's up to the players and how they want to handle things. So that's the idea there. And so what I want to do for the dungeon is I want to make navigating through here one of the layers of the dungeon, right? So that's one of the parts of the dungeon. So it's almost going to feel like two dungeons for the players, especially because I probably will have a break for, again, just standard travel with random events going through here before they get up here, which will then have, you know, more layers to the dungeon. And I want to, and basically what I think I'm going to do for this thing, for this shrine, is it's going to have two layers. It's going to be like, this shrine is going to be half carved into the mountain, half above the mountain. So they'll have to go into the mountain, do sort of a semi-underdark type of layer to the dungeon, and then go above, which will be more of a mountaintop type of dungeon, is what I'm thinking. It's a very rough idea right now. It'll all come together in the end. But that's sort of what I'm thinking. So what I want to do is we're going to pull up our OneNote here. So we can start kind of mapping this out. So what we're going to do, so I've made a bunch of templates for myself. I have two approaches to making dungeons that I like to use. One of them is a bit more organic, a bit more try to make things feel like organic in the sense of less obviously a game mechanic type of thing, and the other one is a blatant approach to a blatant copy of how The Legend of Zelda makes dungeons. And for this one, I decided to go with the Legend of Zelda approach. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this template that I made, because I pre-make the template so that everything can kind of be a fill-in-the-blank type of situation for designing dungeons. Just kind of streamlines the process a little bit, so I spend a little less time, and it makes sure I don't forget important things that I like to have in there. So what we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and copy this, come down here, and we'll paste it below here, because this is going to be our next dungeon. And so this dungeon is going to be, we're just going to call this one the first key. And I already know it's Zelda style, so we can get rid of Opan Zelda style. So there we go with that. Just our sort of baseline information. Intended player level, level 3 for this one. Number of rooms sets matches the level 9 times out of 10 the way I do things, so we'll do 3. Nearest city. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Undo that. So the nearest city, we're going to do 2 things. Hey, you know what? No problem at all. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate that you were here. Appreciate the conversation. Definitely good conversation. I appreciate you. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Next writing stream will be Thursday, same time. So feel free to join in. But thank you for joining. I appreciate you. So let's see here. So the nearest city. So I'm gonna put down our. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put down the Nikos tribe here, but then we're also going to in parentheses do in parentheses. Oops, hold on. Nikos needs to be with a K here. Whoops, Nikos tribe. But we're also going to do our Novo Troy Kladny, which is our sort of actual big city that the players are presently. Or that the players will be playing in. Yeah, so we got that going on there. That's good. And then current overlord. I haven't decided this yet. We'll get to there, and I'll talk about that in a second here. So that's going to be our rough thing here. I actually want to really quickly come down here. There are going to be 3 levels. So what I'm going to do... come on, OneNote. This is one of the few things that I dislike about OneNote. It's very jumpy when I try to scroll up for copy and paste here. But I'm going to copy this here because we're going to have 3 sets. This section is for 1 set. See, 1 section per room set. So I need 3 of these ultimately. So we're going to just add in a few of these as needed here. Yep, just like that. And then let's come down here. Boom. Okay, so we got those 3, and then I just want to make note of map details. Section 1, we're going to say giant tribe, and then we're gonna go here. We're gonna do shrine lower level, and then shrine upper level here. Upper level, because those are sort of the levels that I want to do, and this isn't necessarily set in stone. One thing I can certainly mention, I talk about this a lot when I'm writing things, especially when we enter the actual like writing stage of prepping things like I'm doing right now. When I'm actually writing, I very much take the approach of just like word vomit whatever you can think of. Like, it doesn't matter how good it is at first, word vomit and get it written down, because it's very easy to enter that state of writer's block, analysis paralysis. Like, if you're sitting there trying to think about getting everything exactly right that first time, right, and trying to think about like, oh, well, I think I want to do it this way, but what if I did this? And if you're just kind of sitting there hemming and hawing, that's when you end up, at least for me, I find that that's when you end up with a lot of that writer's block, getting stuck, staring at the page and not getting things down. The better way to approach this stage of things when you're actually doing the writing, trying to put the details and organize everything, the better approach to it is to just word vomit all over the page. Just write it down. It doesn't matter how garbage it is. It doesn't matter if as you're writing you think to yourself like, I'm going to need to change every part of this. Just put it down. Get it down there. And then let the bulk of the writing process be editing. Because it's so much easier to get yourself going when you're rereading something and saying like, no, you know what, I don't like that, let me change that. It's so much easier to end up with the final product when you're taking that approach. If you're trying to get it right the first time, you're going to overthink things, you're going to think about all these possibilities, and you're going to have warring ideas in your head. Get crap down. Write crap down. As soon as you think about something, write it down. Write a note off to the side. Blah, 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 right? You know, come over here and do blah, 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 blah. Just write down stuff. Write down notes, put it there, and then edit it and put it where you want it as you go. So much easier to make sure you get stuff down and make progress with it. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, right? I've got my template so I can fill in the blank. That's one of the things that helps, right? Because I've kind of already gotten that first word vomit by having the template. So now I can just go through here and be like, okay, yeah, I need to do the history. Let's edit that part and change the history, right? But then I'll word vomit a history for this, and we'll come back and change it if need be. 9 times out of 10, especially when I'm just doing notes like this for a campaign, I'll end up saying like, you know what, that's pretty good. We'll make a few changes if I come up with something that I need to change later on. Make a few edits, but for the most part, it's good enough. It serves, it refreshes my memory of what I'm trying to provide for my players here. Let's go with that. because I'm not trying to do like a professional. I'm not sitting here trying to publish the collector's edition of Icewind Dale here, okay? Like I'm making homebrew stuff primarily for me and my friends to use. You know, would I love for this to get published? Sure, but we'll cross that bridge if it ever comes. That's not where we're at right now. Right now, we're just trying to get our ideas down and create our dungeon. So, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Sorry, I kind of got a little distracted there. So, actually, with that in mind, what I am going to put down here, I'm going to put down giant, but we're going to put a question mark there. Because I don't know if I'm convinced that that's what I want the boss to be. But that seems like a logical step, right? It's a shrine that giants use. It's in giant territory. It follows. Probably need to edit that based on what types of monsters are accessible and manageable for players at level 3. We'll get there. We'll get there. One thing at a time. Let's go ahead and go down our list here, though, and let's talk about the history of this place just a little bit. Just a little bit here. So the history of this shrine. What I want to do for this, what I'm thinking for this shrine, this shrine was originally, actually, you know what? I'm going to change that. This shrine was carved out of the mountain only roughly 1,000 years ago. The giants, as they were growing in population in the mountains, thanks to the forced exile of the High Doom. Was it Doom or Doom? Doom. There it is. Forced exile of the High Doom dwarves. So the giants, as they were growing in population in the mountains, thanks to the forced exile of the High Doom dwarves, decided they wanted a place to worship and make sacrifices to the gods. Let's see here. Worship, make sacrifices to the gods. Let's see here. See, now I'm falling victim to my own thing that I always say, avoid the analysis paralysis. I just gotta spew some shit out here. I wanted a place for the sacrifice for the gods. Being people of the mountain, it seemed only natural to seek the mountain tops as likely places of worship. Originally, the giants settled simply for traveling to the mountain peaks and praying / sacrificing in the open. But as giant culture enjoyed the freedom to grow more sophisticated over time, some tribes decided that shrines were the next necessary step for pleasing the gods. This shrine is one such place of worship that is still largely in use today. Actually, I'm going to keep this as part of the same paragraph. It's largely irrelevant, but it matters to me. It matters to me, so I'm doing it that way. Take that. Let's see here. This shrine is one such place of worship that is still largely used today. Giants make periodic pilgrimages. Pilgrimages. There it is. pilgrimages to the shrine, often with various animals or captives. We'll just leave that one nice and vague. With various animals or captives in tow for sacrificial purposes. When the, what did I call it again? What's the actual title? I want to make sure I get it right. The Hall of Wisdom. That's what I wanted to call it. And I like that name. We're sticking with it. Let's see here. When the Hall of Wisdom, Okay. When the Hall of Wisdom was first built, prior to the unhinging, it was decided that access to the Mirror of Memories, I don't remember if I actually called the mirror anything, but I'm right now calling it the Mirror of Memories because that's what it does. It lets you see into the past. It flows. It's got, alliteration. It's perfect. It's cliche. It probably is a trope of some sort. It's perfect. Decided access to the Mirror of Memories needed to be closely monitored by the creators. And we're going to leave that vague for now because that's its own codex entry that goes in one of these other tabs. Probably the either the magic or the artifacts one. One of the two. Most likely artifacts, actually. But I digress. Closely monitored by the creators for many years. We'll leave that vague. For many years, this protection was managed simply by the presence of the creators or later on appointed guardians. But when the unhinging occurred, I should capitalize this. That's like an event, a historical event here. Unhinging. But when the unhinging occurred, was decided by these guardians that it was unsafe for them to remain, and therefore the shrine needed to be protected in some other way. So I'm kind of adding a little extra history of another place in here that doesn't necessarily fit just for this shrine, but it's relevant to the shrine, so I'm kind of adding it in here. I may edit it out later, but again, word vomit and then you edit it later. It's just easier to work that way. Because see, we're making progress now, so. Let's see here. Decided by these guardians it was unsafe for them to remain, and therefore the shrine needed to be protected in some other way. When they decided that the keys were the proper approach, they decided that, let's see here. So now here's where things get tricky. Here's where I got to think about things a little bit here. Because if the shrine was made post-unhinging, we're going to run into a discrepancy here. If they were hiding the keys during the unhinging. Let's see here. So I got to change this lore a little bit here. I got to change this. Actually, wait, no, I know exactly what I'm going to do. They decided that each key would be left with a guardian to be handed down through generations. To be handed down, well, actually, we're just going to say down at the discretion of the guardian. At one point, one guardian believed that keeping the key only invited danger and that the better approach would be to hide it, and let the memory of it be lost with him. Let's see here. So, let's see here. He left only one written record for prudence. Should worldly, this is a very loose concept here, and this will probably need a lot of editing because I don't even know that I like this, because it's almost too convenient, right? It's one of those, it's too convenient that he left one record and the players can find that, but I need something consistent, so we're just gonna go with it for now. And honestly, as contrived as it is, it works. It works, and it will satisfy players. Because the fact is they're not going to hear this history. All they're going to know is there's a record that says, hey, this guy hid this thing somewhere in the mountains. Right. So that's the thing. That's the thing. Left only one written record for prudence. Should worldly events require access to the mirror. And then he traveled alone, braving the wilds into the mountains. He spent many months exploring the mountains, attempting to find a suitable place. I'm going to actually make this a separate thing at this point. Believing that allowing the key to be accessed by Duergar or Drow would be a recipe for disaster. He left it. He eventually found this shrine of the giants. Believing, let's say I already used believing, that's going to sound weird. It was his feeling that the giants would be unlikely to be interested in the hall. Oops. In the hall, or the mirror. Let's see here, yeah. If they ever even found the key. He hid the key in the shrine and abandoned. He hid the key in the shrine and left, never returning and never telling another soul. So yeah, we'll do that. The only record remaining, the only record that he left behind was left in Fosvik, which is relevant because Fosvik is the city. Fosvik is the city north of here that goes up there. Fosvik is the city that's north of there, which is where this city, the expedition to form this city, was founded. So that gives us our breadcrumb trail there of why it's there, why the scholar from here would know about it. That he left behind was left in Fosvik, deep in the archives. After his death, the only people with any idea of its existence were the scholars, who knew nothing more than that a key was hidden somewhere in the mountains. Boom. Now it's here. So now the shrine sits used periodically by the Giants. Used periodically by the Giants, holding this secret, waiting for someone to discover what is hidden within. Boom. There it is right there. There it is right there. Little contrived, a little convenient, but we're creating the framework so that players can tell the story of heroes. And oftentimes, being a hero includes being the right person in the right place at the right time. So, is it convenient? Yes. Is it okay? 100%. We're just, ultimately, it's a group of people sitting around being goofballs playing a fantasy game in which they get to be the heroes. It's totally okay. It's totally okay. It'll serve, and we can edit it as we need to. But there's our word vomit. There's our basic history. I think that's good. I think that'll serve really well for this shrine. It helps give us an idea of it. And what I like about the way this is set up is that the baseline dungeon here will feel very different than maybe the final puzzles and tools that are needed to actually get at this key, right? Because it's like this is primarily a shrine made by giants, so it's just going to be a shrine that's probably filled with a bunch of mountainous creatures, unless we want to make it so convenient that there are giants there presently. But I'm actually leaning away from the idea of there even being giants in the shrine itself, right? The only giants they'll encounter are the ones at that tribe that they will pass by. So I really like the idea. I really like the idea of having them just face like mountainous creatures and monstrosities, right? But then suddenly they'll just sort of in a very like the clues about where the key are is there's going to be a couple protection measures, right? Some traps or some puzzles or something that just really don't fit because they're much more carefully designed and carefully placed than most anything else that's in the shrine, right? Because the shrine primarily was by giants who aren't trying to hide anything. They're just, it's a place for them to make sacrifices. So it's going to be this big, wide open shrine, right? Probably with some sacrificial tables, you know, a few different shrines to like to put gifts and, you know, places to burn incense or whatever we want to decide to do for them there. That's what 90% of it'll be. But suddenly they're going to find a place where it's like there's a really sophisticated like keyhole or something like that placed in a stone wall for them to unlock a subtle hiding place within this dungeon. You know, and the fun thing about it too is we can provide the like really grand entryways, maybe even like a place of treasure where giants will put things that are of wealth, you know, in as gifts to the gods or whatever, and that will seem like the likely place, but that's not where the key will be. The key will just be in some mundane broom closet or some shit, right? So I like that this lore sort of sets us up to have an excuse to throw some red herrings in at players, as well as throw some glaring clues to sort of give them that nudge like, hey, this is what you're looking for, right? So that way players, because what's good about that is it gives a thematic reason for what the characters are going to go through, but it provides context clues for the players to sort of have the meta game of trying to learn and understand the dungeon too, which makes it really fun for players, right? When they get to feel good about their own personal knowledge informing them of how they should play their characters, right? Some people like to try and take as much meta out of it as possible. I love including meta in there. So that way it's a game on multiple layers. It's a game of chance. Do your characters roll well enough to discover and notice things? And then on top of that, do you as players recognize the clues that I as the DM am setting out for you? So that way you know how to guide it in. Because, like, I mean, that's what it's like to play a video game, right? That's what it's like to play anything. As the video game, yes, your character has certain wisdoms and skills that you utilize, right, as you're exploring a dungeon in Skyrim or whatever. But you as a player are also learning how that game is set up. You're starting to learn the signs to look for to navigate the game, right? It's the same as like when you're playing, a really good example is Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Yes, you have Aloy's skills and tools and powers and knowledge and codex and all of that stuff to sort of let you do the role-playing part of it. But you as the player are also cueing into things like, oh, these monsters, these robo-dinos are weak to this type of attack. I should make sure and pull out, you know, this item, or if I know I'm going to an area that I know has those, that I should stock up on that supplies. You're also queuing into the fact that, like, oh, when I see bright yellow, that's one of the climbing parkour things within this part of the game. So I should approach that because there's probably something hidden up there, right? Good games include both in-game, you know, how do I want to say it? It includes character knowledge and character skills, but it also includes opportunities for that meta approach to things, for that player to actually learn things and inform how they control their character, right? It's not all just, oh, well, my character would do that. It's also like, oh, I should make sure my character should do that, right? And that's the meta knowledge. And so this dungeon sets up really nicely to provide some of those things by almost taking the opposite approach of getting them used to seeing one type of thing, and suddenly they're going to see something that stands out, and it's like, oh, that's different. That's probably something we should investigate, right? Otherwise, why would the DM have provided that for us? And there you go. So I really like the way this history kind of sets things up. It'll probably need a little bit of massaging to get the language exactly right and get the history exactly right. But as a baseline, I like what we have here, and I think it's going to work out really well. Let's see. We got about 10 minutes left in the stream, so let's try and get as much of this stuff done as possible. So our thematic elements here. So we can just get rid of our little note here. So we can just discuss the things that we need here based on what the adventure needs. Enemy type and theme. So we're going to say, we're going to break this up into a few different things here. And actually, we're going to do it this way. Enemy type theme, say giant, tribe. We'll do, just as a note here, we're going to say giants if level appropriate. If not, we'll say encourage and provide stealth options so they encounter less dangerous dangerous, there it is, good lord, counter less dangerous enemies to stealth kill, like rats, snakes, etc. Right? So if it's gonna be way out of level to do the giants, I might even have something like very reduced giant presence because they're out on like a hunting party or something like that. I don't know. We can come up with some contrived way. But if they're like super underleveled for it, because I haven't looked at giants and the challenge ratings for those yet compared to level 3. I'm pretty sure giants, for the most part, exceed what level 3s could handle. So we'll have to work our way around it a little bit. But if that's the case, then we can just throw in critters that it's like, yeah, there's rats and snakes and nasty critters like that kind of floating around this tribal campground or whatever. So as they're kind of stealthing around, they have to try and kill these things without making too much noise. You know, that can be the combat element of that stage of the dungeon. Or, you know, if we don't need to worry about that, then we can just say like, yeah, there's giants around. So we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that if needed. Once we start looking into the mechanics of it. But I have not looked into the mechanics of what's going to be in this dungeon yet. I like to get the framework down first. So that's in the giant tribe. In the shrine proper, we're going to do wild mountain animals. The giants are not presently here. So we'll do that. And then, like, we'll probably do... that's actually, we've got a separate thing for the boss. So I don't know. My high school English teachers would be very mad at me about doing a single bullet here because I should do a dash there, but I'm gonna leave it that way in case I add more bullets later. So suck it, teacher. I am choosing to ignore you. Ha. Current boss of the dungeon here. So what I want to do actually for this one, so sometimes I'll add multiple bosses depending on the scenario. This would be a reasonable one to do that because we kind of have two divided steps within the dungeon. But I'm just gonna worry about I'm gonna worry about just the shrine proper here, and I'm just going to say a particularly strong mountain creature at shrine. And then what we'll do here is at tribe some sort of boss question mark, because I don't know if I want to add that in or not yet, and we can decide that later once we start looking at the mechanics of what's going to go in here. Treasure and reward types. This one is going to be very much raw material slash gem oriented treasure. Giants don't do a lot with gold coins, as they are not part of modern society. So yeah, they're not participating in the actual like economy of any of these cities. So they would have no gold coins. They wouldn't have any purpose for it. They're a very barter based society. So like their wealth comes more so from like, you know, they live among the mountains. If they find outcroppings of various crystals and gems and stuff like that, they'll collect those up, and that's considered beauty and wealth to them, right? Excuse me. Rare rocks like you know, obsidian or whatever, you know, lava rocks and things like that. Those are the types of things that are going to be more of the wealth there. So when we're doing the treasure and reward types, it's going to be much more like that, rather than you find a chest of 800 gold coins. Like, no, we'll have to come up with the amount of wealth that we want to provide for that dungeon in gems and stuff like that. That's going to make a lot more sense. So we got that. Puzzle and trap themes. Traps, very much crude traps set by giants. Puzzles, we'll say it, let's see, the puzzles will be more advanced. Clue that they are important. And set by original guardian when hiding key, right? So he'll have put puzzles in place there, which is going to really make them stand out like a sore thumb. And so I think, and so that's how we're going to want to do the puzzles there. The giants aren't a very thoughtful bunch, so they probably don't put much thought into designing puzzles. So yeah. So we'll do that, and like I say, that's kind of the cue for the players, like, oh, this is probably important, because it's in a giant place, but it's not giant related. So, oh my goodness, excuse me. Okay, primary tasks here. Get rid of all of our organizational notes here. Just build our space there. Primary tasks. Players primarily need to get the key. How they do it ultimately is up to their ideas and the dice, right? Because they do have to get some good dice rolls there. Players were also asked to weaken the other giant tribe. It is up to them if they do this, and it's up to them if and how they do this. So that's kind of the secondary task there, but we'll leave it as a primary task because it's like they're gonna have to, like, basically they have to agree to help the Nikos tribe if they want to get information on where the shrine is, right? If they want to get directions to the shrine, they need the help of the Nikos tribe. So that gives us those things. And the next step will be to think about the villains and allies, and this is where we're going to start getting into mechanics. But that's the way I do my dungeons. That starts getting pretty involved. And I'm looking at the time, and it's 1:30. And this is about the time when it's time for me to wrap up the writing stream so I can take a quick break, and then we can come back soon, like in 15 minutes for a video game stream. So I think we're going to call it a wrap on writing right there for today. Like I say, I'm going to take a 15-minute break, and then I'll be back, and I'll be playing Mass Effect. So if you want to chill and watch me play video games, feel free to either stick around or you can come back in like 15-20 minutes once I start back up. That's fine. If you're pretty much just here because you like D&D content, then I encourage you to go find other D&D streamers. There's a lot of really creative people out there working on D&D stuff. I might normally do a raid or something like that, but I'm not going to be sticking around watching anyone else. I'm coming back and continuing my stream in a little bit. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, then by all means go support other people. I am 100% supportive of that. Because if you're wanting D&D content and I stop providing D&D content, then by God, don't stick around for my stream. Like, holy shit. But yeah, I will be back in a little bit to do Mass Effect. As far as writing streams for this week goes, however, the rest of this week my schedule remains free up for me to continue streaming. I always have to compete with my day job. I'm fortunate in that my day job affords me a little bit of freedom working from home, that I can kind of do this on slower days. And so as of right now, this week looks like it's going to be pretty tame, and I should be able to stream again Thursday and Friday as usual. Remember, tomorrow is Wednesday. I do not stream on Wednesdays because Wednesdays are always full days at work for me, the way my schedule is organized. But as of right now, I will be back to stream same time on Thursday and Friday. So if you are interested, you can stop back then. I also do have a Discord server as well as a YouTube channel, so if either of those are interesting things to you, by all means, sign up for that. If those are not interesting to you, then fuck, don't sign up for them. I will not be offended, I promise. I have no income or pride wrapped up in this. This is just something that I do because I love doing it. So, Bandit King, I'm doing my sign-off for the writing stream right now. Welcome. If you do want to stick around, Bandit King, if you're just here for me, you can stick around. I will be back in like 15 minutes to do my video game stream. It's just the timing of things. I am going to keep streaming. I will do video game if you want to do that. But if you're here for D&D content, then tune in Thursday. check the schedule and tune in Thursday, because I'll be back Thursday. I do appreciate that you stopped by, though. I appreciate that you thought of me. But yeah, I'm going to get going. I'm going to take my break. We'll be back in like 15 minutes. We're playing Mass Effect 3, making our way through that game. Yeah, otherwise, either way, whether you're going to stick around or you're going to take off and watch some other streamers, either way, I appreciate each and every one of you stopping by. Whether you're watching the VODs, whether you're watching live, I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm flattered that people are interested in the stuff that I'm producing here. It means a lot to me that you guys stop by. I have a deep appreciation for each and every one of you. So with that in mind, either I will see you soon or I will see you next time. Either way, take care of yourselves, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you again soon. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna end the stream now. I'll be back shortly. There it is. All right, bye everybody.